You know how some days start out totally normal and end with you accidentally convincing a bunch of aliens that Earth is basically Space Australia? Yeah, that was my Tuesday. I'm Derek Thompson, and up until about 6 hours ago, my biggest concern was making sure the piranhas got fed on schedule at the Nashville Aquatic Center, where I work as a graduate research assistant. Now I'm somehow Earth's representative to an advanced alien species, all because they showed up during my lunch break and completely misinterpreted everything about our planet's ecosystem. When I say everything, I mean everything. The Celestials, as they call themselves, arrived in what looked like a giant floating soap bubble made of light, which honestly should have been my first clue about how they see the universe. Their ships don't have weapons because, according to them, why would anyone ever need weapons? That's the kind of thinking that led them to look at Earth and see a paradise. I was outside eating my sandwich when their diplomatic team first appeared. Ambassador Luxatara, a tall being who looked like someone had crossed a jellyfish with a runway model, glided up to me with her assistant Pip bouncing alongside. Pip, for the record, resembles nothing so much as a squeaky toy that achieved sentience and decided to become an intergalactic bureaucrat. "Greetings, Guardian of Aquatic Mysteries," Luxatara announced, somehow managing to make those words sound both musical and completely serious. "We have observed your facility's dedication to preserving the harmony of life, and we wish to learn more about your peaceful world." I looked down at my half-eaten tuna sandwich, then back at them. "I'm sorry, my what now?" "Your sanctuary," Pip chirped, literally chirped, while pulling out what looked like a crystal tablet. "We've been monitoring your world for several solar cycles, and this location houses some of the most serene creatures we've ever encountered." That's when it hit me. They'd been watching the aquarium's promotional videos, the ones where we show all the pretty fish swimming around to calming music. You know, the kind that conveniently leave out the parts where the moray eels turn feeding time into an underwater recreation of a horror movie. "Oh boy," I said, but they were already on a roll. "Your world is truly remarkable," Luxatara continued, her translucent form shimmering with what I assumed was excitement. "We've never seen such a perfect balance of life forms living in complete harmony. The way your aerial creatures soar alongside your towering vegetation structures." "You mean the pigeons fighting over French fries in the parking lot? The elegant dance of your 8-legged artists as they craft their aerial palaces? Those are spiders, those are literally just spiders. And the magnificent scaled beings who embrace their prey with such passionate intensity." I nearly choked on my sandwich. "Are you talking about the constrictors, the snakes that literally squeeze other animals to death?" But Luxatara was already turning to Pip, who was bouncing even more enthusiastically now. "Make note, dear Pip. Earth shall be the crown jewel of our Paradise Worlds program. Their mastery of peaceful coexistence must be shared with the galaxy." At this point, I should have spoken up more forcefully. Should have explained that Earth's nature documentary narrators are really good at making brutal fight to the death sound like magical dance of life. Should have mentioned that what they were seeing as perfect harmony was actually a complex system of eating or being eaten. But before I could get a word in edgewise, Pip had already designated me as Earth's official wildlife expert and cultural ambassador to the Celestials. Why me? Because I was, and I quote, already positioned at a nexus of aquatic harmony and wearing the sacred badge of environmental stewardship. They meant my employee name tag, the one that was on backward because I'd been trying to use it to get mustard off my shirt. And that's how I, Derek Thompson, grad student and part-time piranha wrangler, ended up with the job of showing a species of peace-loving aliens around a planet that's basically one big death match with trees. Though I have to admit, watching Ambassador Luxatara coo over security footage of a shark feeding frenzy while calling it synchronized aquatic ballet was probably the highlight of my career in zoology so far. Little did they know their whole perspective on Earth was about to change dramatically. But that's what happens when you mistake a planet where everything is trying to kill everything else for an intergalactic paradise. At least I was going to have fun with the reveal. Have you ever tried explaining to someone why they shouldn't pet a honey badger? Now imagine doing that with beings who think everything in nature runs on friendship and good vibes. That was my afternoon. "And here we have our reptile exhibition," I said, leading Ambassador Luxitara and Pip past a series of carefully secured enclosures. "Notice the thick glass and multiple warning signs, which are there because these magnificent creatures are so overwhelmed with affection that they must be protected from excess admirers," Luxitara concluded, her crystalline form pulsing with what I was starting to recognize as their species' version of smugness. Truly, Earth's dedication to preserving the dignity of its gentle souls is commendable. I stared at the 16-foot reticulated python that was, at that exact moment, unhinging its jaw to swallow a whole rabbit. Right, gentle souls, that's exactly what I was going to say. Pip was bouncing around like a rubber ball having an espresso addiction, taking notes on his crystal tablet. "Observer Thompson, please explain the purpose of these charming appendages." He pointed at the rattlesnake's tail. "That's a rattlesnake's rattle. It's a warning system that... a musical instrument for impromptu celebration dances." Pip started making notes so fast his tablet was smoking. "And the elongated dentition? The fangs? Those are for injecting venom, which... specialized meditation assistance tools. The sacred fluids help achieve spiritual tranquility." I watched in horrified fascination as Pip drafted what appeared to be marketing copy. "Experience the transcendent embrace of Earth's serpentine spiritualists. Feel your troubles melt away as their blessed essence flows through you." That's one way to describe cardiac arrest, I muttered, but they were already moving on to the spider exhibit. The jumping spiders were out, doing their usual thing of stalking and pouncing on crickets. Ambassador Luxitara's enthusiasm reached new heights. "Behold the interpretive dancers of your world, such grace, such precision in their performance art." She turned to me, literally glowing with appreciation. "And you provide them with willing dance partners. The small hopping creatures seem especially enthusiastic about participating in the choreography." "Ambassador, that's not dancing, that's hunting. The spiders are literally killing and eating. Notice how they conclude each performance by sharing an intimate dinner. The cultural significance is breathtaking." At this point I was developing a stress headache. Pip had already filled several pages with descriptions of Earth's therapeutic arachnid meditation centers, and was sketching out plans for a resort featuring authentic Earth-style relaxation chambers that looked suspiciously like spider webs. Things really went sideways when we reached the scorpion habitat. These delightful creatures seem equipped with natural massage tools, Luxitara observed, pressing her face against the glass to watch a scorpion grab a cricket. "Both front and back." "Those are pincers and a venomous stinger," I tried to explain. "They're weapons for delivering deepest relaxation," Pip interjected. "The perfect combination of pressure therapy and natural stress relief compounds, simply brilliant." I watched him add complimentary arthropod acupuncture sessions to his resort package listings and seriously considered a career change. Maybe I could become a shepherd. Sure, sheep can be aggressive sometimes, but at least no one mistakes their headbutts for healing crystals. The final straw came when we reached the electric eel tank. Before I could even open my mouth, Luxitara had already declared them living embodiments of positive energy, and Pip was writing up plans for bioelectric harmony treatments. "Observer Thompson," Luxitara turned to me, practically vibrating with excitement. "Your world truly exceeds our highest expectations for a paradise planet. Such perfect integration of therapeutic life forms, each specialized to provide unique paths to peace and enlightenment." I looked at the electric eel currently lighting up its tank while shocking a fish into submission. "Ambassador, I really think you're missing some crucial context here." "The only context we need is right before us," she gestured expansively at the surrounding exhibits. "A world where every creature exists to nurture and support, where even the smallest beings dedicate their lives to spreading harmony. Pip, begin preparations for the first wave of retirement communities immediately." Pip bounced so high he nearly hit the ceiling. Already drafting the brochures, Ambassador. Earth, where every bite-sized moment is pure bliss. I had to do something. These well-meaning space jellyfish were about to market Earth as the galaxy's premier retirement destination, apparently under the impression that being eaten alive was some kind of premium spa treatment. There was only one way to shatter their delusions definitively. "Hey," I said, checking my watch with exaggerated casualness. "It's almost feeding time for the piranhas. Want to see something really special?" You know that moment when you're about to burst someone's bubble? Now multiply that by about 1,000, and you'll understand how I felt leading Ambassador Luxitara and Pip to the piranha tank. The ambassador was practically floating with anticipation, which, given her jellyfish-like appearance, was literally true. "Ah, the silver-swimming meditation masters." Luxitara clasped her translucent hands together. "I've been especially eager to observe these beings. Their synchronized swimming performances are legendary in our research files." I raised an eyebrow. "Synchronized swimming?" "Indeed. The way they move in perfect harmony, gracefully swirling around any objects introduced to their environment." She gestured enthusiastically. "Though I admit, we've only seen brief glimpses. The recordings always seem to end rather abruptly." "Yeah," I muttered. "I wonder why." Pip was already setting up what looked like a floating camera array. "This will make excellent footage for our promotional materials. Experience the Dance of the Silver Spirits has such a nice ring to it, don't you think?" I walked over to the feeding station and picked up the remote for our high-speed camera setup. We used it to study the piranhas' feeding behavior, but today it was going to serve a different educational purpose. "Before we start," I said, pulling up the footage from last week's feeding on the display screen, "maybe you'd like to see one of our previous, meditation sessions in slow motion. You know, to fully appreciate the artistry." "How thoughtful." Luxitara drifted closer to the screen. "Pip, make note of Observer Thompson's dedication to proper appreciation of natural beauty." Pip bounced eagerly, already noting such attention to detail, such... The video started playing. Now, if you've never seen piranha feeding footage in slow motion, let me paint you a picture. Imagine about 50 razor-toothed fish hitting a piece of meat like a school of aquatic chainsaws. Every bite, every torn fragment, every frenzied movement captured in crystal-clear, high-definition detail. The kind of footage that makes nature documentary editors add soothing background music just to keep their audiences from having nightmares. I hadn't added any music. The change in my alien visitors was immediate and dramatic. Luxitara's glowing form dimmed to a sort of sickly pale blue. Pip stopped bouncing and started slowly deflating like a sad balloon. "Observer Thompson," Luxitara's voice had lost its musical quality. "Perhaps there is some mistake with the recording device. Surely these peaceful beings aren't ripping their food to shreds in a feeding frenzy that can strip a large animal to bones in minutes. That's exactly what they're doing, every single day." I gestured to the live tank. "Want to see it in person?" "That won't be Nice's." I dropped a piece of meat into the tank. The water erupted. The piranhas, which had been calmly swimming in their usual patterns, transformed into a churning mass of teeth and scales. The crystal-clear water became clouded as 50 fish fought over their meal with the kind of enthusiasm usually reserved for Black Friday sales. Pip made a sound like a squeaky toy being stepped on and tried to hide behind his tablet. Luxitara's tentacle-like appendages curled in on themselves. But our research, the harmonious nature of Earth's ecosystem." She was starting to flicker like a malfunctioning light bulb. "Oh, there's harmony all right," I said, warming to my subject. "It's just more along the lines of everybody's got to eat, and less universal peace and love. Those synchronized swimming patterns you admired? That's called a feeding swarm. It's how they coordinate to tear apart their food more efficiently." "Tear apart?" Pip peeked out from behind his tablet. "But what about their role in the spiritual harmony of... Their role is to eat whatever they can get their teeth on, which is pretty much anything that bleeds. Though I suppose you could call it spiritual if you mean helping other creatures transition to the great beyond." The feeding frenzy was winding down now, leaving behind a few final swirls of cloudy water and some very satisfied piranhas. I turned off the video display, which had been showing the same process in loving slow-motion detail from multiple angles. "Would you like to see some of our other feeding videos?" I asked innocently. "We've got great footage of the shark tank, the crocodile enclosure, and this really interesting time-lapse of a python digesting." "That's quite all right." Luxatara's voice had jumped about 2 octaves. "I believe we may need to reassess some of our initial observations about Earth's ecosystem." Pip was frantically deleting everything on his tablet. Removing relaxing fish therapy from the brochure. Also removing swimming with native species package. Also possibly removing all water-related activities forever. I decided it was time to really drive the point home. "You know," I said conversationally, "the piranhas are actually some of our gentler residents. Wait until you hear about what happens in the praying mantis enclosure. Did you know the females sometimes eat their mates while they're still alive? We've got some fantastic footage of—" "Reassessment meeting," Luxtara announced at a volume that made the water ripple. "Right now, Pip, emergency protocol 17. Already implementing." Pip had somehow managed to compress himself into a shape about half his original size. "Priority message to Central Command. Paradise World classification may require significant review." I probably should have felt bad about traumatizing our first alien visitors. Instead, I felt like a teacher finally getting through to particularly optimistic students. Time to lean into the role. "Follow me to the education center," I said cheerfully. "I've got some wonderful documentary footage to share. Really puts things in perspective." "I'm not entirely certain that would be—" Luxatara began, but I was already leading the way. "You're going to love this first clip. It's about the leopard seal. Fascinating creature. Here we see it teaching a penguin about the circle of life by repeatedly throwing its body into the air and catching it for about 20 minutes while the penguin is still alive." Pip made a sound like a deflating balloon and tried to hide behind Luxatara, who had turned an interesting shade of pale green. "Moving on to the plant kingdom," I continued, clicking through slides. "Here we have the pitcher plant. Beautiful, isn't it? It's basically a living stomach that drowns insects in digestive fluids. And this lovely thing is a parasitic fungus that hijacks ants' brains, forces them to climb to a high place, and then bursts out of their heads to spread spores. Nature is amazing." "Observer Thompson," Luxatara's voice wavered, "perhaps we should—" "Oh, but we're just getting to the good stuff. Have you heard about the bobbit worm? Picture a meter-long carnivorous worm that hides in the sand and has jaws like scissors. It grabs fish right out of the water column, drags them under the sand and— well, let's just watch the video." I heard Pip whimper. "And these are just the highlights. We haven't even touched on the Portuguese man-o'-war, which is actually a colony of organisms that joined forces to become better at stinging things to death. Or the tarantula hawk wasp, which paralyzes spiders and lays eggs in them so its larvae can eat them alive from the inside out. Or my personal favorite, the candiru fish, which— well, maybe we'll save that one for after lunch." Luxatara had drifted to the floor and seemed to be having trouble maintaining her humanoid shape. But our preliminary studies, the harmony. Oh, there's harmony, all right. It's just more metal than meditation. Everything on Earth has evolved to be really good at either eating other things or not being eaten, sometimes both. Take the platypus. It's a venomous egg-laying mammal that looks like it was assembled from spare parts, and it still manages to survive just fine. Pip had given up on his tablet entirely and was now just making quiet distress noises while slowly rotating in place. "Then there's the box jellyfish," I continued, warming to my subject. "No offense to your species, Ambassador, but these cousins of yours are basically floating death squares. Their venom is so potent it can kill a human in minutes, though I suppose that's fair turnabout, since we've got these absolutely tiny octopi that can kill pretty much anything." "Pip," Luxatara interrupted, her voice unnaturally calm. "What was the original classification we gave Earth in our database?" Pip ceased rotating long enough to check his tablet. "Paradise Gardens subcategory, peaceful sanctuary," he squeaked. "I see. She turned to me, her form flickering rapidly between different shades of blue. Observer Thompson, would you say that classification is accurate? I pretended to think about it. Well, if by Paradise Garden you mean evolutionary Thunderdome, where everything is simultaneously predator and prey in a never-ending battle for survival, then sure. Though personally I'd go with something more like nature's combat arena, or maybe biological warfare testing ground. And your species? She paused as if just realizing something. Your species evolved here? In these conditions? Born and raised, I confirmed cheerfully. Well, not me personally, but humanity as a whole. This is what shaped us. Every venomous, carnivorous, parasitic bit of it. We're basically the house champions of Earth's survival tournament. There was a long moment of silence, broken only by the sound of Pip quietly deleting what I assumed were several thousand vacation package pre-orders. Observer Thompson, Luxitara said finally, her voice carrying a new note of what might have been respect, or possibly terror. I believe we may need to completely reconsider our approach to Earth's classification, and possibly invest in better research protocols. Happy to help. Would you like to see the Komodo dragon feeding video next? It's got some great shots of them using bacteria-laden saliva to... That won't be necessary. Both aliens spoke in perfect unison. The education center went quiet except for the soft hum of the aquarium pumps and what sounded suspiciously like Pip trying not to hyperventilate. Ambassador Luxitara had drifted to the center of the room and appeared to be deep in thought, her crystalline form shifting through various shades of blue and purple. Observer Thompson, she said finally, I must ask, how does your species sleep? I'm sorry, what? How do you achieve rest while surrounded by... She gestured vaguely at the screen still showing nature documentary footage. All of this. I shrugged. We build really strong doors and walls and occasionally moats. Moats, Pip muttered, frantically taking notes again. Of course they build moats. They live on a planet where even the worms are carnivorous. Moats are probably considered basic home security. And you're young? Luxitara continued. How do you protect them? Oh, that's what playgrounds are for, I said cheerfully. Get them climbing things early. Build up their strength. Teach them which plants not to eat and which animals to avoid. Basic survival skills. Your recreational facilities are survival training courses? Pip's voice had gone up several octaves. Well, yeah. How else are kids supposed to learn that gravity is always trying to kill them? Better to figure it out on the rubber playground than the concrete sidewalk. Luxitara's form had started pulsing with a new kind of energy. And your educational institutions? They teach methods of defense against these creatures? Sometimes, mostly we just teach people about them. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to knowing which things can kill you and how. I gestured at my name tag. That's basically what I do here, though usually with less traumatic revelation and more, please don't tap on the glass, it annoys the electric eels. Fascinating, Luxitara whispered. Your entire species, you don't just survive here. You study these lethal creatures. You keep them in enclosures. You observe them for... entertainment? And research. Can't figure out how to avoid being killed by something if you don't understand how it works. I pointed to the piranha tank visible through the window. Those little guys have actually helped us develop better body armor. Their bite force is incredible. You weaponized your research of the deadly fish. Pip had stopped taking notes and was just staring at me. Weaponized? Now that would be crazy. We just studied their feeding behavior, jaw structure, and tooth arrangement to create improved protective gear. Though now that you mention it, I suppose that one researcher did develop a new kind of serrated blade based on their tooth pattern. The aliens exchanged looks that I couldn't quite interpret, probably because their faces weren't exactly faces in the traditional sense. Observer Thompson, Luxitara said slowly. When we arrived, we believed we had found a paradise world of peaceful creatures. Instead, we appear to have discovered... A death world? I suggested helpfully. A forge, she corrected, her form glowing brighter. A crucible that created a species so resilient they view creatures like these. She waved at the screen, which was now showing footage of a great white shark breaching as educational opportunities. The most dangerous things on a world full of dangerous things, Pip added, bouncing slightly again, but in what seemed like nervous awe rather than enthusiasm. And they just keep the other dangerous things in boxes, for fun. With educational plaques, I added. Don't forget the plaques. Very important to label your deadly creatures properly. Luxatara had started floating higher, her glow intensifying. Your species evolved alongside all of these lethal life forms, survived them, studied them, and then created facilities to preserve and display them, for educational purposes. Well, yeah, can't let kids grow up without seeing a tiger at least once. That's just bad parenting. A species that treats apex predators as tourist attractions, Pip muttered, starting a new page of notes. That considers survival training an appropriate activity for children. That studies creatures that can strip flesh from bone in minutes and thinks, yes, this will make excellent armor design. When you say it like that, it does sound a bit weird, I admitted. But in our defense, pretty much everything on Earth is trying to kill everything else. We just got really good at not being the ones getting killed. Your entire planet is a survival gauntlet that you've turned into a combination research facility and public attraction, Luxatara said, sounding almost reverent. Everything here has evolved to be lethal, including you, especially you. And I thought about correcting her, pointing out that there were plenty of non-lethal creatures on Earth. Then I remembered that even butterflies drink blood when they get the chance, and decided she might have a point. The reclassification of Earth in the galactic database happened faster than I expected. Within a week we'd gone from Paradise Garden, Peaceful Sanctuary, to Warrior Garden, Extreme Caution Advised. I'm pretty sure we're the only planet in that category with a gift shop. The Celestials, it turned out, had a surprisingly enthusiastic response to discovering that Earth was less peaceful retreat and more evolutionary battle royale. Once they got over their initial terror, they developed what Luxatara called a scholarly fascination with Earth's unique developmental pressures. Pip, who'd recovered from his existential crisis with remarkable bounce, had completely pivoted his marketing strategy. Experience the thrill of survival on humanity's home world became the new tagline. The retirement community plans were scrapped in favor of what they called extreme environmental immersion experiences. We've never had a destination quite like this, he explained, practically vibrating with excitement. Most deadly worlds are just physically hostile, extreme temperatures, toxic atmosphere, that sort of thing. But Earth is actively trying to eat you. While looking beautiful doing it, Luxatara added. The aesthetic appeal combined with the constant mortal peril is quite unique. The aquarium, much to my supervisor's surprise, was designated as an official galactic tourist attraction. Turned out that watching Earth's aquatic predators from behind safety glass was considered the perfect introduction to our planet's charm. We had to add some warnings about how the peaceful swimming patterns could turn into feeding frenzies at any moment. But that just seemed to increase ticket sales. I got promoted to head of interstellar relations, which mostly involved explaining to alien visitors that no, they couldn't pet the lionfish, and yes, the electric eels were actually generating electricity, not positive energy vibrations. The Celestials even started a reality show called Surviving Earth, where participants from various peaceful alien species tried to cope with Earth's wildlife. The episode where they discovered that mosquitoes existed went viral across 3 galactic arms. The one about honey badgers broke their equivalent of the internet. The truly fascinating aspect, Luxatara told me during one of her regular visits, is how your species not only survived these conditions, but thrived in them. You developed intelligence not despite the constant danger, but because of it. Yeah, I agreed, watching a group of alien tourists press themselves against the shark tank safety glass in terrified fascination. Nothing motivates problem-solving quite like being surrounded by things that want to eat you. Indeed, though I must ask, those small furry creatures your species keeps as companions. You mean cats? Yes, we've observed them hunting. Are they not also lethal predators? I thought about trying to explain why humans decided to domesticate tiny murder machines and keep them as pets, about how we looked at sharp-clawed, fang-bearing carnivores and thought, "Oh, cute," about how we basically took one of nature's perfect killing machines, shrunk it down, and taught it to sit in boxes and chase laser pointers. That, I said finally, might need its own documentary series. Pip, who was recording nearby, bounced enthusiastically. "Excellent idea. We can call it Earth's Pocket Predators, when deadly things become delightful." "Maybe workshop that title a bit," I suggested, as I watched another group of alien tourists simultaneously coo over and recoil from the piranha feeding demonstration. I couldn't help but smile. Sure, we might not have created the peaceful paradise the Celestials were initially looking for, but we'd given the galaxy something better, a reminder that sometimes the most beautiful gardens are the ones with teeth. Though I do wish they'd stop referring to mosquitoes as Earth's vampire swarms in the tourist brochures. It's giving people the wrong idea, or possibly the right one. I should probably show them the bullet ants next.